So I'm in the process of trying to buy a Tesla Model Y, and I thought I would share this video in the hopes that it kind of helps show cost of ownership. And there's also a little bit difference in how I'm going to treat this car versus a normal vehicle I would buy. This is going to be a work vehicle for the business, but I'm going to treat it more as a piece of inventory than a depreciating asset like you would most vehicles, even though things are kind of screwed up right now. But it's kind of been interesting preparing these numbers. This has been a lot of work. Spreadsheet's probably not in its final iteration, but for the most part, it's where I need it to be to understand what the differences are going to be. And the biggest thing is going to be fuel savings because my vehicles that I own get 10 to 15 miles a gallon because they're work vehicles. But what I've found is most of the time I'm not using those work vehicles to their potential. So like my 3/4 ton truck and my Transit 150 van, most of the time they're either empty or they're very light load, like shipping stuff that I'm sending out. So I'm going to be getting rid of my 3/4 ton truck, which kind of sad about because despite my complaints about the truck, I do like it. And this Tesla is going to replace it, which will become my daily driver. Currently, my Transit 150 is my daily driver, but the Tesla is currently, or the current plan at least, is to make the Model Y my daily driver. So on my conservative numbers, what I did was I figured my highest fuel economy vehicle, which is my van, and then I kind of figured an aggressive fuel economy for the Tesla at 300 watts per mile. And I have my cost per kilowatt local and travel for the electric vehicle. And those numbers are the numbers that I get after factoring in a 1.35% variance. Or, well, that's not percent, I guess. That's a mistake on my part. Technically, it's I guess it'd be 135% variance because I'm figuring 0.35 or well 35% extra electric costs for things like cold weather or if I'm loaded down. So like with EVs in the winter, they require more energy because they have to keep the batteries and the interior warm versus your vehicle that uses gas. You kind of get better fuel economy in the winter because the gas engine is so inefficient and it generates so much waste heat. So I'm figuring 15 cents per kilowatt to charge at home and then 61 cents traveling. And that's probably kind of aggressive. A friend of mine recommended an extra 30% based on his experience with his Model Y performance. But these are the conservative numbers. And I've kind of broken the gas prices down. The electric costs shouldn't really change because power where I'm at's fairly stable and affordable. But obviously the gas costs changed. And originally when I made this spreadsheet, gas was at $4.69 a gallon. I think that was back in July. So that's all that yellow line means. That was where gas was at the time. And I've kind of broken it down to, let's see, these columns here. So these would be my costs for electric and gas vehicles. So an electric vehicle, I'm predicting around basically $950 a year in energy if I'm doing 15,000 miles of travel. And the fuel economy will depend. I think we're somewhere around 375 a gallon right now. So $3,750 worth of gas, basically. So there's a lot of savings from a fuel standpoint right off the bat. I think, yeah, that's correct. Oh, all right. Yep. I'm just looking at my columns trying to figure some stuff out as I'm thinking about this. Something's not right here though. Oh, all right. That's total cost. It, I've kind of, this top portion, I kind of have ignored since I generated this because I decided to focus on yearly costs. Um, these, this section here is total costs by month. So the total costs isn't quite as great of a savings. So I think, let's find the 375. So right now on total costs and the conservative numbers, I'd be saving $155 a month by switching to an EV, well, particularly the Model Y. And that's not factoring in loan payments, of course, which are probably going to be around 1,000 a month. I haven't quite dialed that one in yet. But the loan payments are kind of irrelevant because as long as the car holds its value, like, so if the car doesn't depreciate, say I own it for 5 years and it doesn't depreciate more than 1,000 a year and I sell it, well, I'm only out the $1,000 a year worth of loan payments plus sales tax. So really what it cost me, not much. And then I'll end up making that up in my fuel savings, basically. And that's kind of what I did down here in the bottom portion of the spreadsheet is I broke it out, cost of ownership per year, figuring in sales tax based on purchase price, and then plates, which may or may not change. I just left it at the 1,420. As the vehicle gets older, the rate that it's taxed at will go down, but they also may increase the amount that the taxes are. Also, they may increase the EV tax if they determine they're not charging enough to make up for the lost gas taxes. Maintenance is probably a little too conservative, should probably be a little bit more aggressive. Mostly should be looking at tires. The warranty will cover a lot of manufacturing defects and stuff, which if you don't abuse your car, really shouldn't have to worry about that. Um, Biggest problem with electric vehicles, from what I understand at least, is the people that supercharge a lot. That's hard on your battery because you're charging it at a faster and higher rate versus if you just charge it off of your standard house outlet, it's not going to be as harmful to the battery. So I kind of figured 600 a year for the first 4 years and then maybe 700 for the rest of up to 10 years. I probably won't be owning the car that long though, since I'm looking to get into an electric van here eventually. And the maintenance cost is mostly gonna be tires. I figure every other year I'd probably go through a set of tires if the tires are only good for 30,000 miles. And the maintenance costs are going to be about half of what I pay to maintain my gas vehicles because I looked at my truck's history and I was averaging about $1,200 a year over a span of, I think it was 5 or 6 years. Depreciation, I didn't really know what to do with. Really, with the Teslas, like I said, if demand and production don't get skewed too much out of hand, then used values shouldn't get hit too bad. I've seen some older Model S's that people are trying to sell for prices that just seem stupid to me. I mean, $40,000 for a 2015 Model S, with 100,000 miles, and it's like, geez, that just seems high. So I think I think that's fairly conservative unless there's a major shift in the market. And I've factored in my insurance costs and stuff. These these rows here are basically the differences. And I think currently I have it based on, let's see, this row here, 350 a gallon. So I'm gonna be saving about 2,500 a year based on this math in fuel, and then $600 or $500 a year on maintenance. I will be paying a little bit more for insurance, but I may actually increase my deductible on the insurance from 500 to 1,000 because really $1,000 deductible is kind of a drop in a bucket on a $63,000 car, you know. Um, so then yeah, I kind of broke it up into cost per year. Really, it's the dang sales tax. That sales tax is a killer. Um, because otherwise the cost of ownership, not factoring in loan payments, really isn't that bad considering what you're getting, especially after you factor in savings. Because if I were to keep doing what I have for vehicles, I mean, I'd be, let's see, that'd be about $2,800. I'd be spending $2,800 more. So the savings really makes the difference. And even the cumulative costs before savings, not factoring in loan payments, over 10 years it cost me $56,000 to own the car. And that's factoring in everything: energy, taxes, insurance, maintenance, depreciation. Really probably shouldn't even be factoring in depreciation as cost of ownership. But like I said, since the plan is to buy this and then eventually sell it, like it's a piece of inventory, I kind of wanted to figure that in. And if I get more aggressive, so I figured another 30% more energy costs, and then I go on the average fuel economy versus my best fuel economy, and then higher efficiency. My friend says that with his performance, that the 300 watts per mile that he was getting, that was him driving kind of crazy, you know, aggressive acceleration, aggressive maneuvering, treating it like a sports car. But if you're more conservative with your driving and you have it in, I think it's chill mode, he said, then he was seeing around 234 watts per mile. I don't know why I labeled that kilowatt. Yeah, there's a lot of errors I need to fix and stuff to make this a little bit more sense. But um, yeah, 234 watts per mile. So that really takes things and makes it a lot more affordable. And I think on this sheet, looks like, yeah, I'm basing that on the current 375 a gallon. And if you look at the more aggressive savings, I mean, it really gets more promising because I'm going to be saving $3,600 in fuel costs instead of, what was it? Yeah, 2,500 basically, which is just insane to think because that's like 3 loan payments a year worth of fuel savings. Um, and figuring cost average. I don't know if my van actually gets 15 miles per gallon on average, but that's kind of what my tracking has implied because I try to track all that stuff on my maintenance spreadsheets. But yeah, it's just the fuel, at least for now, the fuel costs are just so much of a difference. And like let's say I was doing it better and I was solar charging. I mean, now I'm saving another $400 on fuel basically. Oops, that's not correct. What is going on here? Oh, I changed the wrong thing. Let's fix that. I'm still working on numbers. Yeah, still $400. Um, but yeah, it's just quite the savings with once you factor in energy costs. Now, granted, let's say your gas vehicle gets 30 miles a gallon, then it's not so good. You know, you're looking at $1,100 worth of fuel savings. But, if you travel more at the same time, so let's take this mileage, let's say maybe do 22,000 miles a year. Well, now you're looking at $2,000 in fuel savings. Plus, the perks of the Teslas are if you take care of them, there really isn't any reason why it should break down. Like if you're not accelerating as hard as possible every time you start rolling and you're not supercharging it everywhere because whatever reason. Um, free supercharging is not a thing anymore, so don't have to worry about people destroying their batteries trying to supercharge to save money. Um, but yeah, it's really interesting once digging into these numbers and figuring out what kind of savings is there because it really surprised me. I mean, doing like rough math made it look promising, but once you really, really dug into it and really got those miles and costs figured it in, um, yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. Now, granted, I mean, nothing's to say that I would have kept my 3/4 ton truck that gets 10 miles a gallon for the next 10 years, but I think with that truck, I mean, Chevy stuff, the older Chevy stuff at least, was reasonably reliable, but I think there is going to be that break-even point where the truck's maintenance costs would exceed 1,200 a year on average, just because there's going to be stuff that breaks, your timing chains and transmissions and all that stuff. I think transmission rebuild for that truck would be around 3 grand. So yeah. um, but this was kind of my attempt at least to get some detailed numbers, and I'm not only excited to get an electric vehicle, but I'm excited to have something that's reliable and under warranty, especially with the powertrain warranty since the battery and motors are covered. I think it's 120,000 miles if I remember right. But either way, hopefully that's interesting. Once the deal goes through, I'll probably do some more updates on the Tesla that I got. It's not officially 100% set in stone, but I'm working on selling my work truck right now, and then once once that's sold, that'll be like the final step before I buy the Tesla. So either way, hopefully that's interesting. If you have any questions, I'm not a huge expert, but I'm kind of getting more of a grasp of things, so maybe I can answer that. Otherwise, there's lots of other better Tesla dedicated channels out there as well. So thanks for watching.